Hello and welcome to another managerial special from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage and with me is Charlie Betts. And we go into League Two where Oldham Athletic have sacked Harry Kewell and have hired Keith Curle. So Charlie, let's talk about the previous manager, Harry Kewell, joined in the summer and reaction from his sacking was a bit mixed.
Yeah, if I'm honest, Craig, I think, unfortunately with Oldham, you're never quite going to get longevity in a manager. I mean, you put a stat in our WhatsApp group the other day that was just astounding, to be brutally honest. But, it's an odd one. I think possibly a cost-cutting measure. I mean, he's got them safe. We'll talk about it at the end, I'm sure, but they're in a better position than, other teams down the bottom. But clearly a golden straw against Southend was just the final straw for them. Could be they thought it's safe, so we'll get a cheaper manager, but I don't know. Bizarre, really. It's a bit, excuse the pun, but it was a bit of out of the blue in that sense. There's teams that I think were in worse form. I mean, he's got a 41% win percentage. We hardly ever talk about managers getting sacked. Admittedly, 41 games, but he's won, nearly half of them. So it's a very bizarre situation. However, the only thing I would say, given the context of way Oldham have, dealt with managers before, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and just looking at his league table at the moment, they're currently in 16th place, 39 points after 32 games, 10 points clear above the Southend, who are currently 23rd in the table. Do you feel that, I think the owners, do you think they expect that Oldham to be higher up considering who they brought in?
Yeah, but I'm sure, Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they have like a ban at the beginning of the season? Like there was a transfer embargo on them and stuff like that. And, it's been, to quote up what we say all the time, if there's difficulties off the pitch, it always tends to be on the pitch. However, I think they've handled that situation well. There's been, whatever circus going on off the pitch and different managers and stuff. I think for him to get them where they are, I don't think it's a bad result. All right, maybe the weekend didn't go quite as well and they would maybe expect to beat a team like Southend who are in the position they're in, but to sack him after the start he's made. And as I say, I don't think we've done a managerial special this season where a manager's had such a high win percentage and still lost his job. So for me, baffling. Really is baffling.
It's probably up there with the Salfords, to be honest, with Graham Alexander, a high win percentage, and he gets the chop. But let's move on to the new manager, Keith Curle. We know Keith Curle very well. He was previously manager of Northampton until he got sacked very recently. Do you feel that's a good appointment for them?
I mean, it's a man, obviously, he got Northampton out of League Two. That's obviously showing their aspirations. Maybe they think that Keith Curle is the man to do that. Do you know what it is for me? It's a timing thing. Why now? It's so bizarre. Unless they thought maybe he was going to go to a different job. They wanted to nab him while he was available because obviously he got sacked from Northampton when... I mean, to be honest, he did a good job at Northampton. Obviously, going up a league, I don't think a club of Northampton can give the resources and money that's probably needed to keep them up in and around the sort of top half of League One. So obviously, although they picked up some results recently, they struggled under him a bit. But I think anyone who took that squad up was going to. It was a shock they got out of League Two, to be brutally honest, as well as they did. So on that basis, I am surprised. My only rationale, he's a good manager, don't get me wrong, and he's got really good experience. It's just the timing, really. I don't know what he's going to do between now and the end of the season. So I can only assume if they wanted to get him while he was available, and they had to try and get an excuse to shift Harry Kewell out. So in terms of an appointment for Oldham going forward, yeah, I think he's a good, he's got a good pedigree. He's managed lots of other teams in and around that sort of league. And as I say, if you just take what he did at Northampton as an example, it obviously bodes well for them. Probably his best time was at Notts County. He did really well there, got them promoted as well. So I suppose they've got a proven manager in that sense. It just, as I say, baffling in terms of the timing. But as an appointment, taken out of the context of it, fantastic appointment, I think, and will probably do well under Oldham, given the players. Whether he can cope with what's going on off the pitch and the short careers that managers seem to have at Oldham is another story.
Well, I'll just bring on our managers recently, short appointments at the club. Obviously, since the takeover back in 2018, about 6-7 managers have been in, haven't lasted a full season since obviously he's taken over. So Keith Curle's only got the job to the end of the season, but do you think that's a good thing for him? See how it goes the next couple of months?
I mean, there's a cynical part of it that says it's not a good thing for him because he's not going to get the obligatory massive payout that probably all the other managers have got because they've signed 2- and 3-year contracts. Do you know what I mean? So, again, though, I don't see why you'd get Keith Curle, unless, as I say, they're just trying to pin him down, just doing it to the end of the season. What is he going to achieve between now and then? They're not going to get relegated, let's be honest. Unfortunately, there's teams in much worse state than them. they're never going to get anywhere near the playoffs. So I don't really know what he's got to do wrong to not keep the job. But then I don't know why they didn't give him a longer contract. But like I say, maybe it was just to pin him down. But I think if you're Keith Curle, you have to be realistic going in there and think, right, I might be able to do something here, but there's probably a more than likely chance. So I could also lose my job over very little, if I'm honest, because, as I say, in my opinion, Harry Kewell didn't do too much wrong. So it seems like they're going to do this appointment as an investment, but up to this point, Oldham haven't invested in a single manager in the last how many years that you just mentioned. So it does surprise me.
So let's talk about Keith Curle's tactics onto the pitch. Obviously, you said you got Northampton promoted from League Two last season. You obviously had Carlisle in the playoffs recently. Do you see any different style of play for Oldham in the future?
Well, I've got to be honest, Oldham actually are not the worst going forward. They're quite expressive. I mean, in terms of stats, they've scored, how you work it out, I don't know, but they scored 1.5 goals, which of all these managerial specials, 1.5 goals per game, which of all these managerial specials we've done is actually quite high. Normally, we're looking less than 1 for a lot of these who have been in and around the bottom half of the table. The problem is they've let in 1.75, so that's nearly 2 goals a game. So, you know, I think the first thing Keith Curle, and we said this a lot, first thing you've got to do is deal with the issues at the back. But I don't think he needs to worry too much about, not worry too much, but going forward doesn't seem to be the issue. It's just that they are literally, to quote my favourite phrase, leaking goals. So on that basis, I think his style will have to be resolute. I think that's what he did at Northampton. He ground out a lot of wins last year. And I think he'll have to do the same there. But trying to keep a bit of that creativity and that expressiveness, which clearly they have going forward, because it is a good goal ratio. To score a goal a game is fine, but to be letting in nearly 2 at the other end is obviously where you're getting problems, isn't it? So,
how do you see Keith Curle's reign happening to the end of the season? And then if he does get a longer deal in the summer, how do you think that will
go? In terms of to the end of the season, I can't see. I mean, you can't do much wrong in that sense, really. If you know, like I say, they're 16th. They're never going to get relegated. I don't know what, as I say, I don't want to go over the whole thing again. I don't really know what Harry Kewell was doing wrong and what Keith Curle's going to do much better. You know, I think possibly mid-table. I mean, it's quite close in terms of points, I suppose. You could maybe be looking, they could get up to 10th, 11th. But I'm still not convinced about it, to be brutally honest. Yeah, to be honest, I mean, they're on 39 points. The League Two is very tight. However, I mean, you're looking 10th, 11th downwards, to be honest. I mean, Carlisle above them are in a few places above them in a woeful form, not 1 in 5. Everyone around them seems to be picking up points still. So I don't think they'll be much different from where they are, even if he does manage to stem those goals. I mean, they've got a couple of games in hand on some teams, but I think they'll just float in mid-table, really. And that'll be a good season for Oldham, given what they had at the beginning of the season, which, again, it's surprising me why Harry Kewell was sacked. So I don't know what you think, but for me, no higher than 10th or 11th, if I'm being brutally honest.
Yeah, I agree. I tipped them to finish bottom this season, to be honest. So, because I just feel like off the field, it's going to be something that I did say Harry Kewell would get sacked as well.
You did
a lot later than I expected. But yeah, if they can, I can't see them sworn off the field from. It's been going on for years, and it's an absolute shambles. To be honest, looking from the outside, yeah, it's a free. I think it's a free pass for Keith Curle the rest of the season. I totally agree with you. Finishing about, to be honest, I think where they are now, I think that's where they'll finish. To be honest, I don't see nothing special on this side. Obviously, they sold Danny Rowe in January. We've seen in the past. We're big fans of Danny Rowe. But yeah, I don't think anything special. But Charlie, Keith Curle, if he does obviously get some, how do you think he'll do next season?
Yeah, I think he's a good manager. I think, to be honest, given more time, he'd have done well this season and possibly been, he knows what he's doing. They've got a very good manager there. I just think it's the conditions he's going to be working in. And out of all the manager specials we've done, this is the one I can least bank on there being a steady, consistent background for him to work in. So honestly, I think if it was just about on the pitch, he'd do really well with them. And I think mid-table this year and possibly in and around the playoffs next year. But I don't like saying this. I really don't like sort of booting clubs while they're down. But what's going on with Oldham off the pitch, I'll be amazed if he gets there by Christmas. Something will happen, whether it's off the field where he falls out of a chairman, or so-and-so loses a bit of money there, or he doesn't play a certain player, or just something ridiculous. And unfortunately, I hope it doesn't tarnish Keith Curle's reputation, because he is a good manager. They've got a cracking manager there, and I just feel like, unfortunately, the off-the-pitch stuff will ruin their chance of really making a bit of an investment in a very, very good, experienced manager.
Yeah, I totally agree, to be honest, with what you just said, because obviously you don't know what this owner's going to be up to the next 5 minutes, let alone next season. And I think someone like Keith Curle obviously been with clubs that are long term, to be fair, after a good couple of seasons. So I'm probably going to say the same again in come July, August when we do the next season's predictions with Oldham. You just don't know. I don't want him to go. Obviously give him a run, but you don't know what his zone is like. He could be gone by November. I'll go say the same of you because it's just an absolute shambles from at the top. It's a shame, well, but good club.
It's a real shame we both come up with that though, really. But for us both to think that by Christmas he'll be gone, it's unfortunate the state of affairs that Oldham are in, and it's a shame because we're talking about clubs that are struggling as it is. The amount of money they must be paying out on getting rid of managers anyway, it just seems such a waste. But sure, there you go. We can't control that.
No, we cannot. So that's it for our manager special. Do you agree with us or disagree with us? Let us know in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, give this video a like, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast, click the notification bell. We have got championship predictions coming up. We've got interviews coming up with my footballers and more manager specials probably in the future. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter @HonestFootball3, and we'll see you next time.